Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Kråkan, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I'll talk about it. This week's game is 1942 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was released in 1984. That's an arcade shoot-'em-up, developed by Capcom and also published by Capcom. And also be spoilers up ahead, just but first a little backstory. So I made a list of the games that I haven't played for the upcoming weeks to come for the podcast, and quite simply, this is one of the titles on that list. And when you start up the game, you get a black screen with a title of 1942 on it, and then you are prompted to select between 1 or 2 players, and there's no music during this phase. So the game is really simple. It's a top overview. You're playing. There are 32 levels, you have 2 extra lives, and I believe you can earn more extra lives by getting a high score, because after all, this is an arcade game. So the A button does this loop thing, the B button fires, and the D-pad maneuvers the plane. So you start on an air carrier. You're this white plane shooting down other planes for points, and that's about it. So you can take 1 hit before you go down, and there are a couple of power-ups in this game. You can get extra fire powers and so on. And the music is very simple, if not at all existent. It actually is, if they handed a kid like a synthesizer and here, go make some music. And it was the first time that this kid has ever seen a synthesizer or piano. So once you've beaten a stage, you will return to the air carrier and you will do it all over again for, as I said, 32 stages. It's an arcade game, get as high a score as possible. So if you get a game over, you return to the start screen where you actually can continue. So with a little time and patience, you can actually beat this game. And the funny thing about the game is that once you beat it, you get like a black screen when it says like congratulations, and then you're booted back to the main menu again. So not a whole lot of confetti and fireworks going on here. So the plot of this game is that you're an American fighter pilot and you're shooting down Japanese planes over the, I think you call it the Pacific Ocean. So this is a bit strange because the developer of this game is actually Japanese. So I don't know, maybe it's like some dark humor going on. Not quite sure. But that's about it for this game. It's an early title, so you're not supposed to expect too much of it. And I mean, there were a couple of flying games in the early sort of arcade era, and there are easy ports, let's just say that, to the earlier consoles as well. So gameplay. You're an American fighter pilot during 1942, taking on the whole Japanese Air Force by yourself. And it's an arcade game. Get as high score as possible. Control, the D-pad moves the plane around, the B button fires, and the A button does this loop, and the start button pauses. And there's a thing about the fire rate of the planes. You might want to get a turbo controller, because you need to fire a lot, so constantly fire planes moving around. It's a bit like Star Force or Galaga and games like that. It's just you scroll along and you shoot things that gets in your way. You get some power-ups. Really simple premise, as I said, an early NES game. Graphics, really basic, blue water, the occasional island that goes by, a couple of color-coded planes of the enemies, and that's about it. Sound and music. Yacc made a soundtrack for this game, if you could call it a soundtrack. So I actually made a reference earlier in the review about this game sounded like a kid was handed a synthesizer or a keyboard and just go nuts, make some music for a NES game. And it was actually another YouTuber that said this funny thing, and I forgot to reference that. But the soundtrack is very minimal and very, let us say, not inspiring. It actually sounds a bit like Morse code, the first level. I was unsure if it was part of the visual-like effects or if it actually was the music, but yeah. Easter eggs, secrets, and glitches. So I couldn't find any, but usually with these types of old games, there are codes that you can punch in at the title screen and whatnot that gives you extra firepower and life and stuff like that, but I couldn't find any. So in conclusion, I wrote no, go play something else. So it's an early NES title, and the premise is very simple. It's a top-down arcade shooter for points. Nothing much happens. There's a lot of slowdown when there are, well, too many enemies on screen, but that's common with these early titles as well. The control is responsive, but I can swear there's a bit of delay in it, like someone is like actively pushing against my inputs or something. I don't know what that's about, but I can't recommend it. But if you like, top-down shooters, go play Star Force or Galaga. They're much better. So yeah, it's really hard to recommend early titles for systems and stuff like that, but that's how it goes. So anyway, thanks for listening and for watching, and take care.